Ready? Okay, I guess we're going to call the meeting of the Community Resources Tourism Committee to order. We'll start out with roll call. Looks like we're missing two, Spencer and Larry. Supervisor. Um, Moving on, approve of the minutes from May. All right, meeting has been, all in favor? Motion passes. Any public comments? Deanna, nothing? Anybody? Nope. Okay, we'll move on to the extensions report.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. Feels a little weird, but I'm going to introduce Macy Lean. Macy, I don't know if you can turn your camera on.
Yes.
But Macy, there she is. So Macy is the new FoodWise educator. She was hired for Chippewa and covers Dunn County as well. So Hillary Roth was in that position, and Hillary transitioned to Eau Claire County. And so Macy started a couple weeks ago. So I don't know, or months ago, about June 9th. Okay, thank you. Macy, do you want to just maybe give a introduction about yourself and your background? And
Sure. Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Macy. I'm the new educator for FoodWise here in Chippewa County, but from my understanding, I'll also be doing stuff with Dunn. But yeah, I first kind of heard about this position so I interned in La Crosse County last summer with FoodWise. So that's a little bit about my background. Right now, I'm doing a little bit of training, becoming more familiar just with our curriculum, shadowing some of our educators. Been spending a lot of time with Joy and Hillary in Eau Claire doing some kids garden. But other than that, yeah.
Great. Thank you, Macy.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So, so that's exciting to have Macy on board. And then I have some other news to share that the reconciliation bill did pass. And so that does mean that all SNAP-Ed funding and that was in that bill, so 100% reduction in SNAP-Ed funding also passed. So our FoodWise colleagues their service will come to an end September 30th. With layoff notices likely happening this week or next. Extension has UW-Madison has put forward some funds based on, what we anticipate is based on seniority, having some staff stay on a little bit later to try to hopefully, it's over 130 staff across the state, so it's a big chunk of staff and money. They are having the first day of their layoff begin the first of the month. Then that will give them another month of benefits. So when you end at the end of any time during the month when you end employment, your benefits go through the end of the month. So the university was able to do that. So that's helpful for those that are being laid off. And then based on seniority, we don't know yet what that looks like for our educators, where we anticipate what we know, but it'll be October 1, November 1, and December 1 layoff notice is what we're anticipating at this point. But until those come, we don't know for sure. So I do want to acknowledge that the FoodWise program will no longer be around, in the state or in the United States. All SNAP-Ed funding has been eliminated. I don't know if you have any questions or thoughts around that.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll go to the back room there if you wanna, a question.
Yes, so based on seniority, we will likely get our letters this week, and so October 1 will include a minimum of that 2-month notice. So as UW-Madison employees, we do fall in that category, so that's why we had, at least in October 1 as the first of the layoffs starting. And so that was nice. That's good. That helps a little bit anyway.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
There is, we talked a little bit about ways of getting this, try to get it reinstated. If the committee here would want to say, put a proclamation together, or what was the other word,
A resolution.
resolution to send out. I don't know if that'd be any good. We'd have to have corporate look into that. To send a proper letter and yeah, yeah, to see if we can get that reinstated, if the committee wanted to do something like that. Would that be, I mean, is that something that corporate could do, I would assume?
Well, a resolution would be more towards with the going to the county board. That would be whatever that resolution would want to. That's public, or that goes into then you can push that forward. But I don't believe that goes. That's not a mechanism to talk to our elected officials. Dan, you're probably going to be more versed in this than I am.
So I think the preferred route would be to go through the legislative committee, and to kind of add that to a legislative agenda. There is something, and we've done this in a few other committees where the committee had proposed some sort of a resolution that did go to the legislative committee and was essentially made. That is truly the county board saying that, we're in favor of this and we should do this. And we do send those off to the legislators. I don't know the impact, but I think a lot of it is more of a, just making a statement. So that would be the process. So yes, if that's something that you would like to do, most of those resolutions when they come through typically come from WCA, and they write the resolution and we just kind of adopt those. So I know our 2 members from PR&D have seen them come recently, and Human Services will certainly have them over time. So that would be the option. I don't know if there has been anything, if you've seen anything from other.
I haven't seen any resolutions. I think they're all coming forward to standing committees now. There's Chippewa County will be doing a proclamation, and that's just basically a thank you to the FoodWise program for their service in Chippewa County. I haven't heard of any others at this point, but if there are some resolutions that come forward, we certainly can. And I don't know if I know that there's been talk with WCA. I just don't know what that looks like yet.
Yeah. And that would be kind of the route as a county. We're an arm of the state, and we do the work of the state that they ask us to do. And so we don't necessarily always talk to the federal level for what is needed. So I think that would be kind of advocating through the WCA and potentially NACO in order to get that done.
I don't know if there'd be enough time to have it done before it was eliminated by December, you know what I'm saying? By the time they went through all the paperwork and all the committees, it might be too late, but
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what that would look like.
yeah. That's up to the committee to, any questions, comments? Gary, I'll let you talk. All right, go ahead.
You
Thank you. My thought would be that if we could include an impact statement with the resolution or whatever we adopt, so that it would put some figures in front of the legislators that we would address it to. That would have a little more impact, I mean, real life.
And
So
we,
that's all I had.
and we did share, I shared that last month. I did share the 2024 impact statement from FoodWise last month to the committee. So that would probably be something to use.
Thank you. Excuse my ignorance on that. I wasn't here last time. So
No, it's okay. No, no. But we do have it, is Supervisor Steen. Mhm.
Any other further questions or comments? What's committee thinking?
I'd be in support of adding it to the legislative agenda.
It feels like it's just too late, but I think it would be important to have make a statement, legislative statement. I think it's appropriate for the county to directly address our congressional delegation. I don't know why we'd have to go through the counties association. We can sure share it with the counties association in other counties, but there may be opportunities in the next period where there will be opportunities to reopen budget discussions in Washington. We don't know. We can't predict that for a fact, or expect that in any way, I don't think. But I think I would be supportive of us at least having a resolution from the legislative committee addressing this issue. How we put that together,
She didn't look, I pointed over
Perhaps-
there.
I can supply information. I can't write it, though. That is your process.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that would be working with Corp Counsel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, so we can put something together based on, I think, based on the information that you
Yeah.
have and bring it to the committee here to
that'd be
see
great.
what you have, and then, yes, that would go through the legislative committee as well, but.
They can decide what they want to do with it.
Yeah.
If they want to send where they want to send it.
Yep,
So we don't have to make a motion, we just kind of just forward it. I don't,
you just asked us to do work, we'll do that. If you can act on it next time, once you know the details.
um, you're gonna contact corporate or let corporate know that Kristen will help.
Yeah.
Or I can
Yep.
contact,
Yep.
yeah. Corp
Yep.
Counsel
You can
as well.
talk to them
Mhm.
directly. Okay, thank you.
Yep. No, great. Thank you. Appreciate that. One thing that one of the policies of UW-Madison is what is it, callback? So if any of the positions are reinstated, then there is a callback to those that have been laid off. And so there is an opportunity there for people to reinstate their positions if there's a miracle and that happens. So just an FYI there. A little bit more on the budgets. So we're watching very closely. So that was the reconciliation bill. We're watching really closely the federal budget process now. So the federal budget process does include the Smith-Lever funds. That's in the Farm Bill that most of Extension is funded by. Initially, the first iteration of that, the president did cut those funds by half. That was sent then to the Secretary of Agriculture. She did reinstate those to 100%. So we're hopeful that that will stay. If those funds are cut, we'll see a drastic cut in extension across the United States. That's where a lot of the land grant institutions get a lot of the funding. So we're watching that very closely. We'll kind of keep you updated as we find out more information moving forward. So just some uncertain times right now. Also, let's see, we've been working on budgets here. We'll be introducing those to you next month, I think. going to be doing that. So we've been working through those, and we hope that you attend the Dunn County Fair. That's coming up here quickly. So, any questions? Did I miss anything?
Any questions? Doesn't look like it.
I have a
Supervisor
question,
Berger.
for us as a committee. Does it make sense for us to be proactive about these upcoming budget cuts rather than after the fact being like, hey, legislative committee, we think extension is important, right? Could we do something in advance? Or does it make sense?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't, I guess I don't have an answer for that because I don't have that experience that some of you guys might have, but I think that would be a good idea if there's anything that we can do to be proactive on some of those. We can kind of prepare.
I know personally, you can send anything to any representative you wanted to, too, just say, that way, but what do you have in mind for being proactive? I guess the experience I have is not there either, so. Any further questions? Chris? Go ahead, Tom.
It may be that there's a way to write this resolution that would address that to some degree. So that, not direct, so it's not directly, well, there's an element of that, of emphasizing the importance of maintaining funding for extension going forward in this resolution, not just a retroactive cut. It's hard to know when to stop or like where to pick fights
Yeah.
especially when the battle is so tilted against, the playing field is so tilted against us. But we could go on forever, almost forever anyway. But I think I would support us in trying to incorporate something of that language into this resolution.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah.
Noted. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, Kristen?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for the report. Not a good one, but it's a report. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to written extension educator on food wise.
In the rotation of presentations, but we thought I'd share a little bit more about some of the data, a little bit of the data, not all of it, but so I'll do a brief overview of some state data with FoodWise, and I was going to share about what programming we're going to be doing, but now it's going to be programming that we're losing. Yes. A little bit more about the Menominee Farmers Market as well. So some of the state data includes the following. Starting healthy habits early. This is statewide now. A lot of our programming is with youth. In our area, we have a good portion of balance from youth to adults, but in statewide, we know that after programming with FoodWise, that youth are eating more fruits, vegetables as well, 52% more. You can see that we work on healthy eating, reducing sugar across the board, and yes, they do have fewer sugary beverages, and we also promote activity, and 87% are getting more exercise after our FoodWise programming. So we like to teach them young. We like to start at Head Start and go all the way up to high school, and because we know that behaviors change the more that we can get them when they're young. So a lot of 79% of our program had been in with youth this past year. In 24 here, you can see that we, across the state, went to 850 early care sites. So it's within the schools and with Head Starts, schools, farmers markets, pantries, and etc. to 35,000 Wisconsinites. We even get to see behavior changes in adults, which is extremely hard. And we see that 68% were also modifying their diets to reduce their sugar. And when it comes to adults, we teach them food resource management techniques. And so we're talking about menu planning, shopping strategies, looking at labels, how to feed your family. And 58% did say, yep, they do read a label now after our programming. So we are impacting a little change with adults as well. And to show here that we do always connect to Wisconsin agricultural by using our Harvest of the Month programming. And we include it in all the schools that we teach in our area. And we statewide reached over 15,000 students. Over 55% of schools did increase the fruit and vegetables in their school meals. We are working with farmers markets across the state. We help not only the SNAP EBT at farmers market, but nutrition incentive programs. The WIC and the senior vouchers as well is something that we support. So 54 markets are offering nutrition incentive programs across the state. And that's really in great part due to FoodWise educators supporting those programs. So then about programming, you see here, I'm sorry, I skipped over there. It was Joy there teaching. These are our main, I would say our main partners in Dunn County. Core schools, we're at River Heights. We've been at Downsville when they asked us. We always had kept an eye on those schools that went over 50% free and reduced lunch rates. We worked with Head Start, Boys and Girls Club, WIC, Stepping Stones Food Pantry. We also met the needs of eligible agencies whenever they asked. So we've been to Bridge to Hope, we've been to Northwest Journey. This fall, we were going to go to, in addition to all of these, Indian Head Enterprises, working with adults with varying intellectual and physical abilities. So hopefully I'll stay on as long as I can with Health Done Right Coalition. So in our chronic disease prevention team, when it was had, we started that summer fun and done, and that's ongoing now this summer. I touch base with the mental health and wellness committee because the chronic disease is done. So in that it's working with the community resource guide to help to distribute those, and I touch base wherever it kind of connects to access to programming and increasing food security. And just a little bit more about Menominee's Farmers Market. So I provided a lot of support, especially in the transition from last November, December, where the board had transitioned into a new manager and there was a lot of issues with that. We wanted to reinstate the market match, which is nutrition incentive program. So last year they had EBT, which is food share sales. So individuals on food share could use their benefits at the market. With every $10 they purchased, we would they would get tokens, right? The market match is where we would give them additional $10. So if they bought $10 worth of tokens on their benefits, they'd walk away with $20. We'd give them that match. So last year they did not do the match with that manager. They were trying to be a 501c3 and there were some issues with that. So we got that reinstated this 2025 season. To get the monies to provide the match, of course, we need money. And so I helped provide them with a sponsor letter, a draft. We worked through that. They tweaked it. They sent it out to lots of businesses across the county. And we worked through that. And then also helped get them a flutter flag and, another base when they needed it. So that came out of FoodWise money. So I always support whatever they need. This year, they do have 40 vendors that accept SNAP at the Menominee Farmers Market. And I wanted to share with you that I always connect what we're doing locally with the state. This WINI Winnie, it's the Wisconsin Nutrition Incentive team at the state level. I'm always part of that. Oh, and then I just want to mention here about EBT sales in Dunn County. So I was on a meeting and they were sharing the farmers markets across the state who are doing a great job, and they mentioned the top 6, and they said Dunn County. I said, like like what? Like, did they mean Dane? No, Dunn. So, so I put it in the highlights where the amount of food share that comes into Dunn in ratio to the amount of food share spent at a farmer's market, we were number 6 in the state. So I thought that was pretty good. With the conversations at the state, I want to share more about, if you remember last year, I was talking about this GUS-NIP program, Gus Schumacher Nutrition Incentive Program at the federal level. We wanted to bring money into the state of Wisconsin. There's always a match component. So instead of every little farmer's market that wanted nutrition incentive money from the feds, they would have to come up with a match. Well, we worked with the state together. We came together and talked to, and at the state level, they talked to the legislator. And last year, Act 201, the state legislators allocated $425,000 in their budget as that state match for the nutrition incentive programs at farmers market. So that money is there. So we've been having meetings this early part of the year with Winnie, Wisconsin Nutrition Incentive Team, and with Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin. They're a 501c3, and we're like, you know what, we'd like a little bit of that 425,000 that's already in the budget. So we put forth an application, and I just found out it got accepted. So what they're proposing in this application is to have regions in Wisconsin. Now, until then, there had only been the southeastern region, the southern region, and maybe talk of an eastern north, but there was no western. And now we're conversations to create this western region of farmers markets. So we're in the light lavender, obviously on the west side, goes from La Crosse, Black River Falls, the Thorup, up to Duluth and over. And we're having conversations to have Eau Claire as a hub. We have a very large farmers market that I support in Eau Claire. But in that whole western region, you see lots and lots of brown dots. Those are all farmers markets. And within those, there's a couple handfuls that do EBT or food share sales. And within those 2 handfuls, there's right now only 5 that do a nutrition incentive program like our market match that we do here. So 3 of those 5 are the ones I work with: Menominee, Eau Claire, Chippewa Falls, Monday Market at the Y at the time. Now that's changing. And then one in up by Bloomer area, started by a FoodWise colleague, I have to put in, and then Black River Falls. So we're really hoping that now that Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin has been approved to get some of that money, that we're hoping to distribute and help the farmers markets doing nutrition incentive programs. So I'm really hopeful that this fall yet that we can get some money in for Menominee's farmers market. So that will be my last hurrah if I can do that. So I think there we go. Anyways, I think that's it. Let me guess forward any questions. I think can you forward it on your end? It's stuck. Yeah, we're done. But anyways, any questions you may have?
Any questions at all?
And I want to say thank you for your support.
Supervisor Barrier.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for everything you've been doing for this farmers market. I went a couple weeks ago. It was incredible. On a Saturday, there were so many booths. I couldn't believe how much it's expanded. So thank you for your part in that.
Any further questions? Thank you. Any questions for any other reports? You had them all in your packet. I know I read Brian's about the milk production that was on WAU. I did see that on there. That was pretty nice little write up there. So, and the painting of the town is going to be this weekend. I'm sure I visited the booth of the 4-H last year. I don't think I'll make it this year, but I don't know. UW don't put up a booth, or do they? At painting the town?
There you go. Yeah, I'll have a 4-H booth then, and part of that we'll do some general extension information as well. It's kind of like half and half is what we did last year and do that again this year.
Yeah, I visited the booth. There's a lot of kids around there having a good time. So it was nice to see you guys doing that. So, any questions for the staff? Okay, we'll move on then. Items placed at the request of the chair. Adam, you want to do one report or two? Two? You can do two. All right, that one.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm pretty sure that I know most of y'all in the room here. My name is Adam Akala. I'm the Director of Economic Development for Dunn County. This position was formed last year, and I'm coming in with kind of an annual update on my position, as well as some of the things that have happened in the last month. So of note, Dunn Economic Development is a consortium between the county, the city, and the university, which formed a partnership which allows me to serve as the executive director to the Dunn County Economic Development Corporation, the Greater Menominee Development Corporation, and the Stout Technology and Business Park. So one of the major updates that we've had in the last month is that we actually selected branding for the partnership organization Dunn Economic Development so that we can better position ourselves as that consortium and collection of economic development resources for our entire county. We went with a branding that reflected upward momentum in our county as well as forward progress, and a color scheme that went along with our rural identity with some really earthy tones in greens and yellows. So really excited to have that being broadcast across Dunn County. My four main focus areas are housing, business retention expansion, startups and entrepreneurship, and business attraction. And so each of my director's reports are divided into those four main buckets. So this month on housing, we've made some progress on forming a development-friendly municipality certification that I'm working on with Andrew Murcell at the county. This is primarily geared towards our smaller townships and villages that have limited capacity to explore housing development on their own, and being able to assist them in getting ready for development so that we can have a faster track to developers putting shovels in the ground and getting residential development going in our smaller municipalities. But the city of Menominee will also benefit from this as we are seeing a housing shortage throughout the entire county, and the kind of guiding principle of this consortium organization is what benefits Menominee benefits the county, and what benefits the county benefits Menominee. And so there's that reciprocal relationship back and forth and the air of leaning on one another for development opportunities. There have also been several webinars of note in the past month offered by the WEDC Office of Rural Prosperity, as well as the Wisconsin Economic Development Association, specifically targeting housing incentives in rural areas of Wisconsin. So if anybody is interested in seeing those webinars, I have attended all of them, and I also have access to the recordings of them. So another kind of way that I've been acting is as that repository of information. And so if you are seeing things coming out of WEDC or out of WEDA or out of other state organizations as they relate to housing and economic development, I'm typically aware of those things. If I'm not attending them, I'm registering and receiving the recordings afterwards. So feel free to reach out if there's something of interest, especially if something is potentially cost prohibitive for you. And FYI, the Menominee City Council this month formed an ad hoc housing committee. Yay, one more housing group that's working on it. But this action-oriented committee does have an expiration date on January 26th, meaning that they are to be presenting items for votes to the city council before then. And so Andrew Murcell and myself have been working to make sure that they are fully integrated into the work that we're doing at the housing work group, as well as the housing action team, making sure that we're breaking down more silos and not having work being done in isolation, and that we're all working smarter together rather than harder separately. Upcoming also, the Menominee Chamber is hosting a housing panel as their Eggs and Issues event on July 31st that I will be speaking on along with Susan Badke from the West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. A reminder of some of the projects that I've had a hand in over the past year in the job. working on that development-friendly municipality certification. We also hosted a Dunn County Internal Housing Summit where we brought together all the partners working on housing in Dunn County to really inventory what their areas of focus were so that we could see identify opportunities for collaboration as well as any overlap that might exist and any gaps that we currently have based on the services that are currently being offered. That was a successful event attended by approximately 25 individuals, and we got some good data gathered from that. So if you're interested in the collection from that, I do have the results. Municipality development readiness toolkits. We're working on corralling resources to make sure that municipalities have the tools that they need to successfully talk about and build affinity for residential development so that we can continue to alleviate pressure on our local housing market. I worked with the work group at the county to do a manufactured housing tour over in Chippewa Falls, where we toured some manufactured homes as well as a development of manufactured homes. Working with the county housing work group and housing action team, attending roundtables, forums, and doing advocacy with and on behalf of the Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development Authority to make sure that the programs that are devised by our state legislature are actually practical programs that we can tap into. Currently, there is about $525 million that was set aside in the biennial budget 2 years ago, and less than $20 million of that has actually been tapped for projects across Wisconsin, which shows that there are some pretty fatal flaws in that. And so working to make sure that those programs get repaired so that we can actually implement them on the ground in places like Dunn County has been a focus of mine to get more housing projects moving forward. And then additional webinars and development opportunities that have been afforded to me through the generous funding from the county as well as the city of Menominee to continue becoming a local expert in this field. Business retention and expansion is the other kind of priority area for me, focusing on the businesses that we already have, making sure that their needs are being met and that we can successfully grow and expand them in our community, because 80% of economic growth in a given community comes from the existing businesses that are already there. The other 20% comes from business attraction and building businesses from the ground up through entrepreneurship-led economic development. But the low-hanging fruit I saw was 80% of our growth comes from our existing. And so let's make sure that we support them and then use the data to drive our other decisions in our strategy for business attraction and startups and entrepreneurship. Right now, the Greater Menominee Development Corporation has established a revolving loan fund for projects that involve housing and childcare to offer gap financing at the top of a capital stack for various organizations. The really great thing about the Greater Menominee Development Corporation is that they've always had dollars that were invested by banks back in the 50s, I believe, to form that organization for development projects in Menominee. But they have never had staff. The Dunn County Economic Development Corporation has always had staff. So now with this hybrid model, I get to kind of lead the charge of both organizations and leverage the money power of the GMDC and leverage the county power of the Dunn County Economic Development Corporation to make both work hand in hand to move development projects forward throughout Dunn County. We're also working on scheduling BRE visits. We've got 4 of those requested. 2 of them have responded to us and been amenable to visits, and 0 have committed at this point. So just wanted to put that up there as a, these are on kind of the business's timeline rather than something that we can tell a business we're coming in and going to take a half day of your time. We're really working with them to make sure that it fits with their schedules, but it is something that's important, and making sure that our businesses understand that and can tap into it when they need it is important to us. Yeah, business retention expansion visit. And then we're working with Chippewa County EDC. They are hosting they abbreviate BRE as BEAR, Business Expansion and Retention. They're hosting a pitch competition this year for businesses that are doing volumes of $500,000 or more in sales annually and looking to expand. And so I'm working right now with Cool, who does the Groovies treats for dogs, dental hygiene, to prepare them as they're looking to expand in our local market. But there are still spots for pitching available if anybody knows of other additional businesses that would benefit from that opportunity. In BRE, I am working towards my Certified Economic Development Professional certification. And as a part of that, I took the Business Retention and Expansion IEDC course, which is kind of what set in motion setting up this entire program. which formed a task force between myself, Downtown Menominee, the Chamber of Commerce, Xcel Energy, and Dunn Energy Cooperative to make sure that we're not duplicating each other's efforts. The Chamber is already doing things like roundtables and forums and panels. We want to make sure that the results of those are being quantified by the Business Retention Expansion Program rather than operating again in a silo, and can better inform the visits that we make and the questions that we're asking to make sure that we're forming a successful program that's beneficial to our businesses. And between those entities, we touch every business through the county, so we can make sure that we have a good pulse on kind of what's going on. We also built out a database for BRE so that we can quantify this data and pull reporting on it so that we can better inform our other strategies, like I mentioned before. And we conducted business walks in the industrial park here in Menominee back in May. That was bringing members of the GMDC and DCEDC into businesses, highlighting the role of economic development and the newly launched BRE program, and also letting them know about investment opportunities so that our organizations can become more financially stable on their own. This is a replicable framework, and so I hope to take this not just through different neighborhoods and areas of Menominee that are geographic to one another, but also in industry clusters and the more rural communities in our county, like the Colfax Industrial Park or the Boyceville downtown. Small business and entrepreneurship, a really successful thing that we have done in the last year is we just recently signed the contract on the Small Business Development Grant through the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. This is a $250,000 pass-through grant that goes direct to small businesses in Dunn County. So we will have $250,000 to pass directly through to businesses. There is no administration cost. This is not padding our bottom line or operational costs. This is direct to businesses. And so a $250,000 state influx of dollars is going to be, it's going to go a long way for a lot of businesses to be able to help them buy that next piece of equipment that can help them scale or make a necessary repair on something that they've been putting off because the finances just aren't there. We are currently just waiting on the WEDC to make a press release and an official announcement to be able to announce that. So we're just kind of in a holding pattern on that one. But hopefully by the end of the month, they'll make that announcement and we'll get that rolled out. We're also working with Renew Towns. It's an initiative out of UW Whitewater, and they're actually interested in partnering with UW Stout to offer the Menominee version that offers a community buy-in pitch competition to fill a vacant downtown storefront. And so this would be something that we'd be looking to replicate annually here in downtown Menominee to make sure that we can get some of those empty storefronts full of businesses that are already supported by the community. And so they go through a process of entrepreneurship training with the different candidates, as well as help them formulate a pitch and a video that goes out to the community and they can vote on their favorite business so that we know that there's community buy-in before they open their doors. A couple of other projects over the year on small business and entrepreneurship. I worked with the WEDC to petition the governor's office to get Dunn County designated as a hub zone for federal contracting opportunities. This essentially gives any business in Dunn County a +1 on their application for federal contracts to make sure, because we are underserved by federal contracting opportunities, to make sure that we get more of those flowing into Dunn County. If there are other certifications like women-owned enterprises, veteran-owned enterprises, or LGBTQ+ owned enterprises, those also stack on top of the hub zone designation, giving Dunn County businesses an advantage when they are going for those federal contracting opportunities. Getting involved with Venture Home Menominee, an accelerator program that opened up downtown. Because I was involved in the pilot in Eau Claire, I had some expertise that I could offer to that team and help steer the direction of that one. Also wanting to make sure that I'm highlighting the opportunities where I'm not duplicating what other people are doing, but bolstering their efforts. So the Downtown Menominee Economic Vitality Committee, it just kind of made sense that I hopped into that as opposed to forming another subcommittee within economic development that focused on the downtown. It seems counterintuitive. So where they can leverage my expertise best is in their committee, and we're not duplicating efforts and forming new silos. Also helping entrepreneurs navigate the entrepreneurship ecosystem and offering them more referrals to technical assistance services that are historically low uptake here in Dunn County. working with organizations like the West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission and the USDA on the Regional Outdoor Recreation Plan that has implications for startup businesses and potentially scalable operations that focus in outdoor tech and outdoor accessibility to make sure that our region isn't just a fantastic place to play, but that we're also courting complementary industry that brings more folks in that are interested in outdoor recreation as a way to play, but then they find ties to the region that bring them here to live and work as well. And then also using that BRE program to inform what sorts of opportunities for startups may exist based on the needs of our existing businesses. In business attraction, we talk about the request for information that we receive. And so these are typically handed down to us from the state to the region and then to the county level, where we are responding to requests that involve an acreage, a utility capacity, and other potential requests like labor shed analyses or the connections to telecom services, various different things that they request as a high-level overview of what sites are available. When I started, the only team that had capacity to do this was within the city of Menominee. So Eric Atkinson and David Schofield were typically taking those on, and only properties within the city limits of Menominee were being submitted. Now I'm getting a better pulse on what is available in our villages and potential townships to know where there might be opportunities for these to be served in more places than just Menominee. So whether that could be in the Colfax Industrial Park, which is currently out of space, or the village of Wheeler that's looking to expand. We're making sure that I'm going into those communities, establishing relationships with the highest paid officials, so typically their clerk, and getting a pulse on their development wants and needs so that they can get in on this process just like the city of Menominee is in on it. So acting as a project manager for these and allowing those smaller communities access is something that I was really passionate about. What we're seeing, and I'll talk about this in a little bit, is a lot of super sites coming through where they're requesting 125 plus acres, and we just don't have that set aside in any community throughout Dunn County. And we've got a lot of land, but is that land appropriate for development is the question that a lot of municipalities are starting to ask themselves and kind of put together parcels that might be good opportunities for the expansion of their municipalities. So some projects on this front. I worked with a Momentum West intern this summer to pull together village-owned properties throughout the county so that we can start a conversation with those villages about at least the properties that they own. What are their plans for them? Do they have any plans, or do they have any desires to have plans for those available properties? We're also being featured by Business View magazine here in the next quarter for Dunn County and the work that we've done in economic development over the last year. Working on the WEDC Certified Sites program to bring more certified sites that make those RFIs a little easier to respond to. And then I had the opportunity to go with our regional EDO to the NFL draft back in April and network with site selectors so that we can again bring a spotlight onto Dunn County and show that we have a vested interest in economic development and that we are ready to bring these sorts of projects in and foster their growth in our community. I will highlight on that front too. It's nice hearing from our EDO that was reaching out to other county directors that they didn't necessarily want to or just weren't responding to him. And so he's now finding that he's finding his engaged partners in the region. And I'm one of those that's kind of nagging at him to get me more involved in more projects and more things so that I can bring more exposure to our county. So some opportunities on this front, we're getting large properties that are searching for land. We're not talking about they're searching for 20 to 50 acres for a 100,000 square foot facility. They're looking for 125 to 450 acres. Those are the businesses that are currently looking to expand, grow, relocate, because a lot of the smaller businesses are kind of holding in place as there's a lot of uncertainty at the federal level. They don't want to unnecessarily grow or unnecessarily expose themselves to risk. So we are looking at large properties, increased utility capacity. We have identified some opportunity for education and development of our elected officials and the public on the business attraction process, and specifically the confidentiality involved. We've had 2 projects at the city recently where the end user, so the person actually occupying, the company actually occupying the facility that's being built, is not identified. And the city council seems skeptical of that, but it's honestly the process of business attraction where that company does not reveal themselves until the absolute last moment that they have to, so that they don't have to unnecessarily expose themselves to risk. Our municipal staff does a great job in working with that end user and making sure that they're a good fit for the community, but I think there's just some skepticism around the process at the moment. Capacity building for our municipal staff, and this really kind of goes into our villages and townships, making sure that we're helping in future planning processes. So if they're considering industrial parks or industrial park expansions, tax increment districts, or getting together property owners that want to potentially sell their lots and then use those for development. Making sure that we are that conduit to help them with those processes, and we're not unnecessarily burdening our already overburdened and overextended municipal staff to do those sorts of things. And then focusing on strategic attraction, again, through business retention expansion, knowing that the businesses that we're bringing in aren't going to directly compete at a bare minimum, and if possible, bringing those businesses in that are going to complement the industry that we already have and help them in their expansion opportunities. So miscellaneous events over the last year, or over the last month here, getting involved with the Murals in Menominee sneak peek and exploring the synergies between the Greater Menominee Development Corporation and Dunn County Economic Development Corporation. We held a joint meeting last month where we had presentations from the Department of Workforce Development as well as the Chamber of Commerce on Placer AI, and exploring more opportunities for those groups to grow closer together and develop as an economic engine for our county. We're also working on a fundraising video project with UW Stout students this summer to, again, look at more financial and fiscal responsibility of those organizations and bolstering the investment from private industry so that we can continue to do project work and more really capacity building things throughout our county. We've also completed our branding, as I shared. Our website is currently in progress. Right now, we've got websites kind of all over the place, and so we're bringing those all into one place under Dunn Economic Development so that site selectors, real estate developers can find a conduit much quicker to putting shovels in the ground here in Dunn County. We also worked with our smaller municipalities to pilot a program called SingCurrent, which helps with grant identification, federal granting opportunities, specifically for municipalities. And so the Village of Elk Mound, the Village of Colfax, and the City of Menominee are all involved in that process, and that was financed in combination between the DC EDC and GMDC. And I also serve as County Commissioner on the West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission and on the Executive Committee at the appointment of the County Board. So upcoming, just a couple of things that we've got going on with our partners, the Chamber, as well as the Chippewa EDC. And then on September 15th, we're actually hosting Business After Hours as our consortium Dunn Economic Development Organization at CVTC here in the Tech Park. And so that will be to highlight the work that this partnership has been up to over the last year, as well as officially launch our brand and website into the public and really push for private investment in our organization so that we can make sure that we are sustainable moving forward. And that's what I've got. Any questions at all?
Any questions from, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Supervisor Quinn?
It's a great report, as always, Adam. Yeah, kind of a general question. So you mentioned that there are, I mean, it has to do with how what, if any, framework we use to prioritize or encourage any particular type of development. So you mentioned that one of the things you're noticing is that there are opportunities that are looking for large parcels of land up to 240 acres. And then you mentioned that there are entities that are interested in developing but don't want to reveal their identity to the policymakers.
Mm-hmm.
They will to you, obviously, but not to the policymakers prior to any final decision being made. And it seems like there's sort of a tension there that could lead to either opportunity or problems. And I'm wondering how you address that.
Yeah. So my boss has an analogy that he uses for the business attraction process. And So say you're walking down the street and you see a sign for an open house. You're thinking of remodeling your kitchen. So you pop into this open house and you look around. Well, your neighbor's there and your neighbor sees you. Your neighbor goes home and talks to your spouse and says, "Hey, I saw your partner at an open house. You guys are looking to move?" And your spouse says, "No, I'm unaware of this." That's kind of the business attraction process. And by knowing that a company is looking at a particular location, it exposes them to unnecessary risk in the fact of the existing properties that they have may then start to lock down, and the employees might start looking elsewhere as they fear for their jobs and the potential relocation of a facility. And for public investors, it may make them make decisions based on the knowledge that that company is relocating to a different area, for better or for worse. They could be downsizing, they could be potentially looking at a place to kind of sunset the company. And so by not revealing themselves, it keeps them from exposing themselves to unnecessary risk, but it also along the way allows a municipality to have several areas of checks and balances. So we have, for example, the rezoning of property. We then go into a TID agreement if we decide to put a tax increment district around the property to make sure that we can reap the benefits of a tax increment district. Then it goes into a development agreement based on the revenue generated in a tax increment district. And from there, the municipality can decide whether or not the risk of incentives to draw a company there is worth it or not. And that's really the step where we focus on who that end user is, because that's a pretty firm commitment that they're coming here contingent on the incentives. And the community at that point can say, yes, we want them here, or no, probably not a good fit for our community. But right now, our cart is a little bit ahead of our horse in the fact that we're talking about an end user while we're still talking about the potential rezoning of land or the potential setting up of a TID or the potential incentives that might exist, where we can't really talk about the incentives if the TID doesn't exist. We can't talk about the TID unless the zoning is appropriate for the use. And so the multi-step process in there it's confusing for anyone. And so making sure that our elected officials understand the process at every step of the way and that we're not unnecessarily exposing ourselves to risk, just as the company is not doing so by not revealing themselves. I think making sure that everyone is comfortable with that process is something that I'm identifying as a gap that economic development is going to resource with educational opportunities.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. And I would say as well on that front, like in the village of Wheeler, Don, the clerk, fantastic, was able to pull together 240 acres of parcels, but they had all individual landowners that wanted to wait to see what the company was before they would set a price. And the company isn't going to directly negotiate with the landowners. That would be a site selection firm that would come in and kind of shore up those properties and develop a purchase agreement that in the event that all the approvals go through and all the due diligence crosses the finish line, that then that company would commit to purchasing at a particular price. So those are the sorts of things that the courses that I'm taking are equipping me to have those conversations and be able to better position areas of the county for growth if they're looking for it. Hi.
Building off of this, I think that there are some important land use considerations and trade-offs, right? When we're talking about a company that wants to buy up 300 acres of land to put, for example, a data center on, that land is probably going to be zoned agricultural, right? It might be in production for agriculture. And so we've got a need to rezone from agriculture to industrial. And indeed, for background for Tom and anybody else, this is a proposal that's under consideration. Land in the town of Red Cedar, the city of Menominee is proposing annexing that and rezoning it to industrial. For this data center. So I think that they're considering the planning commission is considering this at the end of the month. How, from your perspective, as somebody, I assume that you're involved in these facilitating these discussions. How do you, from your perspective, navigate those land use considerations?
Yeah. So the way that I describe my position is working between private industry and municipal government, where I'm not necessarily directly advocating for any particular end user, and I'm not necessarily advocating for a community exposing themselves to unnecessary risk. I'm making sure that I'm fitting somewhere in the middle there. And so for this particular kind of proposal for the city council, I have been working to educate on the business attraction process. And that right now, all we are talking about is the annexation. And I say all that, not to diminish it, but all that we're talking about at this point is the annexation of 300 acres and the rezoning of that 300 acres as industrial. That would add 300 acres to the city of Menominee and expand the industrial park by 300 acres and allow us to position that property for development. Where the city council meeting last Monday went was talk of data centers. And that is still a little ways down the road, where once it is a part of the city of Menominee, then we can actually talk about it. Once it is a part of the city of Menominee, then we can talk about the potential incentives, and that's where the council can then debate whether or not the end user is the appropriate end user for that, or the facility that we're looking at is the potential correct use for that land. But if we were to kill this process right now, we may never have these 6 property owners petitioning the city of Menominee for annexation again, and inhibit the ability to grow and also garner the attention that we are closed for business. If this step of the process doesn't go, that does not mean that we're committing to an end user. It doesn't mean that we have identified exactly what's going on that land. It's just that we have brought it into the city of Menominee and expanded our ability to grow our industrial base. And so it's not saying you should do this. It's not saying we need this company. It's saying trust the process. We're in step 3 of 15, and the city staff is doing their due diligence to make sure that we're protected. And we're not talking about an end user. We're talking about annexation. And some of the benefits that could come from that are ancillary development, regardless of the end user that's currently proposed, and eyes on the development of Menominee. And it shows kind of a catalyst that there is a desire to further develop within the city, as opposed to a potential closed for business sign going on.
I can see that there's a good opportunity for City of Menominee to increase its industrial base. At the same time, it feels like a loss to me for the agricultural heritage of Dunn County to be taking these several hundred acres of prime farmland, as I understand it, out of production. Is that any kind of consideration that you are concerned about?
I guess on a personal level, yes. We don't want development to be unnecessary or overly grotesque in terms of we don't want to just willy-nilly take farmland because it's adjacent. Where the current process lies, it now goes to the Plan Commission that sees if it is in alignment with our comprehensive plan at the City of Menominee. And so they review that. But I think the thing that's difficult with annexation is it's not the City of Menominee saying we're taking it by eminent domain. It's the 6 owners of the 11 parcels saying we would like to be annexed into the City of Menominee. Whatever the motivations behind that are most of us are not privy to. And so it comes from the property owners as opposed to coming from the city. And the city's really avoided doing any sort of eminent domain taking of land or taking of property because it just doesn't build good affinity and good relationships with our surrounding towns. And as someone in my position, my kind of next step, once we know a little bit more about what this process looks like and who we might be seeing, I think working with the town of Red Cedar to look at some of the ancillary development and the opportunities that they can seize upon for, I'm thinking specifically residential, that we can continue to grow our communities by way of development in whatever way fits and is beneficial to the municipality that we're working with. And so that's been an important part about like working with villages and things. I want to make sure that I'm not sending them things that are way out of left field that they're not interested in. I want to make sure that I have a good idea of what they would like to see so that I'm not bothering them with everything that comes across, but maybe there are a couple things across the year that they would be well suited and well positioned for development on.
Thank you. I really appreciate knowing some of the broader context surrounding this project. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Any further questions for Adam? Seeing none, I guess we'll move on. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Dunn County Communications. Dan?
So our communications is continuing to be, I think, quite successful. And well, as my face was on every piece of media for about 2 weeks, it felt like, as that was one of our press releases. We have one coming out tomorrow for the fair. So we'll be getting that information out to everyone. And then we have another one that's going to be focusing in on our victim witness unit over in the courts and the work that they do and advocating for the victims of crimes, specifically youth victims of crimes in this story. So that's something that'll be coming out in the next week or so. So we'll see how that gets picked up. So I think we've been continually impressed by the take of all of the releases that we get and how much they're making it into the news, and even hearing from people in Eau Claire County. This is how come everything in Eau Claire news is about Dunn County. So so I think we're doing a really good job of kind of getting our name out there. And but I mean, ultimately, a lot of this comes down to the fact that it is difficult for us to get news out in the news desert that we are. If you look, there's a story from WKOW today about Dunn County being a news desert. I believe the number I saw is we have 0.1 FTE for the county, or per 100,000 or something like that. So it is, I think, is something that many of us here are well aware of that issue. But the news releases that we've been doing have done a good job in at least getting a little bit of that news out, though. Some traditional media would be great. So, and then I'm going to head you off because we added an agenda item for your next one. And we're not going to do it. That was a wage proposal.
I think everybody's probably seen that already anyway.
So, no, well,
No?
Spencer has. So, and that was just the makeup of this committee. Everybody is on two other
Mhm,
committees. Spencer, we roped him into staying in on the highway one. He's on the transit commission. So, so he got to see the presentation there. So to save everybody this enjoyment of watching it twice, we're not going to do it in CR&T. So, PR&D people, you guys will get it tomorrow morning, right? Yeah. So,
I think that's all appreciated. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay, going on to item 7, consideration of action to be taken by the Community Resources and Tourism Committee. We'll start with the 2026 budget of the libraries. I think you guys all had that in your packet, and we've, Dan had also sent some out here, so. Guys got any questions of anybody here?
So this is consistent with our traditional allocation of 100% to local cost and 70 to out of county.
Yes. If we agree at 100%, yes, otherwise it could go to 70.
Right. That's what the request. I mean,
No, go ahead.
try and help out people that
Yeah, there's
didn't bring their
there's no
magnifying
narrative
glass.
here, so maybe you could.
So, as I'm just familiarizing myself with this as well. So I provided you a couple of handouts on that are disconnected. And that is the 2020, well, you'll see it in there as like 2023 or 2024 budget. Yeah. So, and this is, if you remember when we had kind of gone through some of the stuff with library funding before. So it's like 2023 costs that get applied in 24 and then get, and so on and so forth. So the years can get confusing. So the one that is stapled within your packet is really the one that we're acting on right now. That's the one that's going to require a magnifying glass. So that one, if I can zoom in, so it has a grand total to budget of $871,589.74. And so that represents 100% funding for the county libraries and the 70% funding for out-of-county libraries, which has been the kind of the going process for this committee going forward. So you are aware, statutorily, we are required to fund at 70% for both of them. So it's been a choice of the county to go to 100 for the in-county libraries and to stay at the 70 for the other one. So you can, so if you really zoom in, if I can even get into that. So it is on the bottom of on the stapled one. So the other ones that I brought were for historical reference. So that is the previous year and the year before. Oh, there you go. Yep. Yep. So yeah, if you look at that, the 70% funding for out of county libraries is, can you go down a little bit or up? I always say it the wrong way, is about 161,896. Yeah. Wow, I could read that. All right. So that number right there is the 70% for the out of county libraries. And then if you scroll down, you can see the 709,693 is the 100% for in-county libraries. So for reference, last year, that number for in-county libraries was 669,000. And the year before, it was 709,000. So numbers fluctuating as throughout time. Those are obviously based on circulation, so utilization and items like that. So we're seeing a little bit of that trend back, especially in the in-county libraries, that trend back upward. Do you remember the whole conversation with the Colfax Library? That was kind of the expectation that there was a bad year, and they're coming back up. So it seems to be more in line. So yes, I guess with that, you are in a position to make motions to decide which way you want to go.
Is that 70% at more than 100%? What am I looking at there?
Yeah.
Is it, yeah, it's the same one that's up there.
So yeah, it's so as you can see
Oh, no.
it doesn't want me to point at it. All I want to be able to see those titles. So so as you look at that, so focus on the colors. As you look at the blue one here, you'll see the headers have 100% funding in the left column and with red writing, and 70% on the right column. And then if you scroll to, so once again, the blue area is the out of county. Now, when we come down here to the in-county ones, those numbers flip-flopped. So the left column is 70% and the right column is 100%. And the colors change, so.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we approve, recommend funding at 70% for out-of-county libraries and 100% for in-county libraries.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'd like to second that motion.
We have a second. Any further discussion? You guys all know what you're voting for here, so it's in the packet. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. The library, okay. Now the West Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. This one. You guys also have that in your packet. Really easy to read. It's like the increase is about 110,000. No. Yeah. Oh, 900, sorry. Yep, yeah, come on up. Scott.
Hello. If you have any questions, but what was provided is, excuse me, request here for the annual levy to be 25,760 for 2026. And in terms of comparison with previous years, the current year is 25,099. So just about 2.6% increase. The commission, of which again you heard your EDC director is one of your commissioners representing the 21-member 7-county West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. And thank you to Supervisor Quinn, who's a longtime former commissioner on that as well. So essentially the commission back in March recommended a 3% increase, which is the same as they did last year for the upcoming budget year across all 7 counties. So that's based on equalized values. So it's a little bit different per county. So the recommendation here for the levy amount for Dunn County for 2026 is about 2.6% increase. So a little bit lower than that overall, 3% at 25,760 in the materials. So we also included, again, we always list all the other revenue sources that we do have as well. And if I may, I do have just a quick handout that kind of outlines some of that. The top slide, so to speak, is just the overall 2025 budget. So just kind of gives you a snapshot of where things are today. So our levy, which again is a statutorily defined amount for each of the 7 member counties, of which again Dunn County is one of those, is that green wedge that shows 17%. So our levy amount in terms of revenue attributed to our budget is anywhere from 15 to 20% historically over the last 15 plus years. So for this year, it's about 17%, and looks to be probably similar for next year as well. And again, that just showed a little bit, it's a quick snapshot of 2024, 2025, and 2026 levy amounts for Dunn County in the bottom slide. And on the back side is just a quick snapshot of some of the programs and projects that are utilized here in Dunn County. And then the bottom slide shows a quick snapshot of a project we are wrapping up, which your EDC director referenced, which is the 8-county regional outdoor recreation plan that was in part funded by USDA grant this time last year. So that's wrapping up as we speak. And then a quick snapshot there too of one that we're just launching last couple months, which is the new or updated comprehensive plan for the county. And that's looking to continue on through to early next spring. So we're currently in the midst of doing a property owner survey with that. Like to always mention specific numbers as we have them. 1,367 mailed, like in the physical real mail, hand stuffed surveys just went out last week. Just last week. Why last week and not this week? Because postage went up again this week. So we caught it just in time. So I'll have to say we again doing a lot of direct mail outreach with that comprehensive plan. But there's a link there to your website. So again, it's a partnership approach with that project, with all the projects that we listed here on that slide. But in particular, if you go to dunncountywi.gov/comp plan, so 2 P's, comp plan, they'll get you some more information, and we'll update that as we go, especially with that surveying process. So probably more than you wanted to hear about all the things we do, but we'll be talking a little bit more in depth about that at an upcoming County Board of Supervisors meeting at the end of the month. So we'll be back here in 2 weeks with our Regional Business Fund staff member that's assigned to Dunn County to give you an update a little bit more detail. But this is kind of a quick just handout to talk about budgeting and programs and projects. So are there any other questions?
Seeing none, I guess.
All right. Thank you.
Do we have a motion or something? Any discussion on this at all?
I'd move approval of the request.
Pardon?
I'd move approval of the request.
For 25,760? Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a seconded. Any further discussion on this at all? Voting for the West Wisconsin Regional Planning County funding. All in favor? Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys. Outside agencies, we have the Housing Authority as item C1. Anybody here to speak on that?
Tammy's here.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead now.
So yeah, we're requesting the same as last year, 49,000. And it is for help with administrative dollars to operate our 2 programs, the Housing Choice Voucher Program, also called Section 8. So most people kind of refer to it as, and then we also have the Family Self-Sufficiency Program, which is an extra component that believe at this time there's either 13 or 15 housing authorities in the state of Wisconsin that have that extra program, just kind of a case management program to help move families that are on the voucher program towards self-sufficiency and create more turnover on the program. I don't know what else to say. I feel like I just seen you guys not too long ago because I just did my annual report. Are there any questions?
No questions at all?
I just want to say this is a really complete report. I appreciate
Yeah.
the transparency, all the financials, the independent auditors report. This is all really great information. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome. To hand deliver it because that's a really long audit report. 8 copies. I was like, I'm not mailing that.
No, don't take time. If you guys had a chance to look it over, it was in your packet as well, some of it.
Happy to make a motion to approve the request, 49,000.
Same as last year. Is that, no? Okay, we have a motion on the floor in a second. Any further discussion at all? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank
Kind
you.
of quick one there, that was good. And now we got Economic Development Corporation. Adam's back here, so
Yes. Happy to take any questions. I don't think that I have anything else to add, other than I hope that you can see your dollars at work here in Dunn County over the last year. And really one of the things that was a focus in my interview process was making sure that we weren't just serving the city of Menominee through this process and making sure that we were extending into the county and making sure that the opportunities weren't just in our economic center, but to the folks that maybe need a little bit more capacity to be able to get things done in their areas. I will also note on our profit and loss for 2025, it shows a negative balance currently. That stems from the fact that we haven't done our fundraising push for this year yet. It was late in the process last year. They waited until after I was hired to kind of make a big splashy announcement. And so that is coming here in September. So that's just the only kind of errant thing on our financials.
the request is for 55,000. Am I correct?
Correct. Yep. Same as last year again. And that secures a 1-for-1 match with the city of Menominee.
Like to make a motion to approve the request for $5,500 or $55,000.
55,000. We have a motion on floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Supervisor Barrier. Any further discussion? Okay, none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Adam. Moving on to item 8, reports, resolution, ordinances to the county board from Community Resources and Tourism, none. Next meeting will be Tuesday, August 19th, 4:30 in this room here. Any announcements, any questions? Nothing? All right. Meeting adjourned. Oh, a lot of paperwork here.